all that goes with that is done by perfectly sane people. That's what is generally accepted to be the case. But
Yeah.
yeah, the things can trigger. You can get crimes of passion and
Yeah.
things like that. But yeah, I think ultimately, if somebody steals my phone from me, I'm not going to say, "Oh, well, you keep it." You're obviously in a mental condition. I'd say, "No, give me my phone back." So you have a perhaps a kinder approach to
Well,
such events as I would than I would.
well, I don't think my leniency extends to theft, really. You know, if somebody's stealing somebody's mobile phone, they in the right mind because they've planned it. That's what that's
Mm.
what they've gone out to do. I'm talking about ones that there's no need for the crime being committed. There's no
Yeah,
link.
but how do you know that though? How do you know there's no need?
All right, so I don't mean to go into gory details, but there was this incident that is still in court recently, and I think it happened last year, where this guy with a samurai sword went on a rampage. He went on a killing rampage, didn't he? And he actually, luckily, he didn't kill that many people, but he did kill a 14-year-old boy. Now, how would you explain that? Would you say, you know, that's what that's why he's in the right state of mind? What would you say to that?
Well, again, I think only a professional
Yeah,
person, a doctor, a psychiatrist, will be able to make that assessment. But what I would say is, sad to say, without getting morbid, I think sadly there is something called evil, which seems to be in some people.
yeah,
Probably a very small minority are what we would say are evil people, but I think it does exist. In other words, just being bad
yeah,
is a life choice,
yeah,
perhaps. But obviously, if medics say no, this person doesn't know what he's doing or she's doing, fine. But I think the majority probably do. But actually, it leads me on to something else we were going to talk
right,
about.
okay,
Having diversified, and that is we were going to talk about the death penalty. Now, not in any
ah,
political way. The thing
yeah,
about the death penalty or capital punishment is that, excuse me, for well, I'm trying to think when it was outlawed. I think I read fairly recently when I was looking at this that the Parliament passed the Act which abolished the death penalty in about 1965, and so it's not been a feature of our law since then. And if you think about it, I say we're non-political on this because when the Houses of Parliament, when the House of Commons has ever voted on this, and it does once every few years, they
yeah,
invariably have a big majority that say no, we don't want to go back to capital punishment. So talking about it, in my view, is not political, but it's still an interesting subject because we do hear of some awful crimes. I mean, there was a terrible business in Austria yesterday, wasn't there, where
yeah,
an ex-schoolboy, an ex-student went back there. They say he'd been bullied, which is a shocking thing. Bullying, we all know that.
yeah,
But he shot dead 10 people, injured about another 30, and I think then shot himself when the police had sort of cornered him. So he wouldn't be, in court facing justice. But some people would say because across any political divide or spectrum, there will always be some who say, "I believe in the death penalty for the worst crimes, the worst people," or they don't believe in it. I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? They are people either do or don't. From what
yeah.
we're told, I mean, every so often there's a kind of a national survey on this, and we tend to be told that there's a majority in favour of a national survey on this. And we tend to be told that there's a majority in favour of the death penalty, but I would imagine the caveat would be that it would be only for the very worst cases of murder where there was absolutely no doubt at all that the person in court is the perpetrator. But I wanted to bring up a case. Some years ago now, I read a book called To Encourage the Others.
Right.
I forget who wrote it, but it was about a case in Croydon, actually, Crystal Palace, my team based in Croydon, which is, well, it's probably about an hour and a half from where I live. I'm much further south, but I still go to watch them. But briefly, the story is this, and I'd like your view on
Right.
whether you think what happened should have happened. Now, there were two young guys. One was 16, Christopher Craig, and one was 19, Derek Bentley. Now, so 16 and 19. Derek apparently had some mental head trauma. So he had a head trauma injury as a youngster. So clearly that affected him, because it was said in court that he had a mental age of 11. He was
Right.
19 when he was in court. And anyway, he got involved with Christopher Craig, who came from another family in Croydon. And anyway, one day they were going to burgle a factory in Croydon itself. But somebody spotted them from their window, sort of climbing up the ladder on the side, getting on the roof. They called the
Yeah.
police. The police came pretty quickly and cornered these two young fellows on the roof of this factory, because it was dark and everything else.
Yeah.
There were a number of policemen there, and they had guns, but so did Christopher Craig. He had a gun. Now, this was actually, from this book I read, it was a very famous case, which actually played some part in producing the votes in '65 to abolish the death penalty. It played a part in it. This was in the early 1950s, I think. So anyway, there's Derek Bentley on the roof with Christopher Craig, who had a gun. Derek Bentley, I don't believe, did. The policeman came up, and a fight ensued that actually lasted for about an hour, but couple of hours even. But very quickly, one